Hi, welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. And now I'm happy to introduce to you a couple of gentlemen from the Volunteers of America, Oregon. I have with me Julio Iniguez, who is a program gambling counselor. Nice to have you here again, Julio.
Thanks for having us.
And Nate Peterson, gambling recovery mentor.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And we've talked before, but this is such an important subject that I'm glad you're back again, especially. And we were talking earlier, gambling is always an issue and impacts not just one person, but an entire family and community. Right. At this time of year, it's probably even tougher for some people, I imagine. What can you tell me just overall about gambling as an addiction and what Volunteers of America tries to do about that?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that gambling is a devastating addiction, just as devastating as alcohol or illicit substances, and it's severe and affects, like you were saying, not only the gambler but the family. And you know, this time of year, the holidays are a very tough time for people who suffer an addiction to get through, maybe for the loss of family because of addiction or just negative experiences from the past they've had. So you know, there is a focus to reach out and try and have people, you know, come together and offer support and whatnot. So one thing, excuse me, I'm getting a little choked up here. Go ahead.
So one of the things that's interesting too about the holiday season is just in general, it's a time that it's culturally accepted to just consume more, right? Everybody's Christmas shopping and there's sales, so we're buying stuff for ourselves. And so just the whole perspective and the idea of the value of money for everybody changes. So there are, you know, different beliefs around the holidays and the idea of luck, or, you know, reasons why people might be a little bit more stressed and might use gambling as a way to cope with some of that holiday stress.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and gambling, just as with drugs, it's a great way to check out. And life is, we're depressed, life is horrible, I'm terrible, I don't want to feel this way. And the gambling does a great job.
Focus on that, and you don't have to think about all the other stuff going on in your life.
Sure.
But then when that money's gone, and you don't have any money for the Christmas presents that maybe you were expected to buy, or just even pay your bills for the month, that's when the real depression would be setting in, I would think.
Absolutely. Right. And the sad thing actually about gambling is there's a higher rate of suicidality with people with gambling addictions. It's actually twice as much as those who suffer from alcohol and drugs.
Really?
And at least 3 or 4% higher than I think the national average.
Why do you think that is? Is it because of the perception of some people that it's not a real addiction, like because we talked about that earlier, like drugs and alcohol addiction, that some people don't take that as seriously, so they see it maybe as a flaw in them personally?
There's definitely a stigma with gambling. It's still, people maybe look at as gambler as somebody who's amoral or just corrupt and has no backbone or spine to stop. And for the gambler and somebody who's in long-term recovery from a gambling addiction, just over 7 years, I know there's the feeling of hopelessness and despair, and that how can I tell anybody what's going on, because this is just such a crazy, insane thing. Nobody's ever going to get it.
I'm not going to understand what you're going through. So how do you deal with that? What did you do? How were you able to help? May I ask that?
How did I get help?
Yeah,
you mean?
I mean, I know it's a very personal thing, but.
Well, you know, they talk about bottoms, right? Well, I hit my bottom, and luckily I did have the support of my wife and family. But I had the courage to pick up the phone and make a call, and I got into treatment. So I've gone through what the state of Oregon provides, treatment for gambling addiction, and also for significant others or people that are affected by gamblers, and it's all free, and that's what I did.
Oh, wow. So like Al-Anon for alcohol, the families of alcoholics, there is programs for families of gamblers.
Well, they can come in and get treatment. They can work with professionals such as Julio or other certified counselors there. And also there is Gammon, which is the family side of Gamblers Anonymous, which is something I'm part of. That's part of my recovery, you know, that having that community support.
Right.
So it's out there.
So for people that want to get help, what's the first step? What do they need to do?
Well, one of the first things that needs to happen is just recognition that something's wrong, right?
Yeah, admitting that something's wrong.
One of the things that is common is just people that have a gambling addiction have a different relationship to truth and money than other people would. And so there's this idea that it's going to be that next big win that's going to solve my problems. And I'm really sick and tired of this. So when I get that win, I'm going to pay what I need to pay off. It's like a solution to the problems.
Yeah.
And then
as
once
soon as I
they're
get
solved,
that, I'm done, right?
I'm going to stop.
I'm done. But it
But
doesn't
that
work
day
that
never
way, does
comes,
it?
right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so the first thing is just like starting to notice, okay, this might feel out of control, or I'm very distant from my family now. I'm not showing up to work, and then it's making that call.
Wow. Now, you provided some slides that talk a little bit about that. Maybe we should take a look at them now.
Sure.
And you can kind of go through those with us so we know what we're
Great.
talking about here.
Sounds good. So I think the first slide that we have is just some numbers around gambling facts and figures.
Right. So I got this. This is information that's available to anybody. Go online. A lot of these facts come from Voices of Problem Gambling Recovery, which is a community nonprofit group here in Portland and for the state of Oregon, and they do amazing work to bring about awareness and prevention and education about problem gambling. But as you see, it's estimated over 81,000 Oregonians suffer from some type of gambling disorder, and that's quite a few people.
That's a lot of people.
That's about 2.5%, I think, to 3% of our population. Wow. That's about the national average for gambling addiction. And then what we have here is these are something that's about playing responsibly. So have a plan, stick to it when you gamble. And this is something that the lottery, Oregon Lotteries, actually is now setting out with commercials and whatnot.
Now, I think these rules are really helpful. And the thing about it is that a normal gambler would be, somebody who's tried gambling at some point in their life. They've gone to Vegas, they've gone to Tahoe, or maybe they've even gone to one of the casinos here, or even a lottery establishment and put money in the machine. The machine eats their money, and they're like, "Oh, okay,
I'm good."
Yeah, I'm good. Or they'll buy a scratcher from time to time, or they'll buy a Powerball ticket. There's a lot of different products that the lottery has.
Which is fairly harmless if that's a once in a while thing.
Well, most people expect to lose, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know how many friends I have that have gone like to Vegas for a weekend or something and said, I have this much money. When it's gone, it's gone, and they stick with it.
And most people can stick with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
And that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at these rules, gamble only for fun, right? So you know that you're going to spend some time. You might win, you might lose, but it's for fun. You're not trying to make money, right? You're not trying to solve problems.
If you want something, that'd be so cool. But
right,
exactly.
And most people, if they win, they're going to cash out and treat themselves to a nice dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, for that small few, that small amount of people, again, it's devastating to them. They can't stop.
It's just that hook.
Somewhere that line got crossed, where it's become almost like a form of self-medication because whatever in their life is not going right, or it seems to be able to solve their problems for the short term, even though then that pain and suffering, once the money's gone, is there again. And then, as Julio was saying, they see their way out of once if I just get that big win.
Yeah.
So the belief system of the gambler is very askew. There's a lot of rituals that go in and with gamblers about what machines they're going to play, what time of day they play, and
what socks they're wearing.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
I even had.
Is it kind of like a high? I mean, would you consider it like a high the first few times, and then after that it's just maintenance to keep you going?
So Monica, if you do a CAT scan of somebody who's sitting in the machine gambling on one of those electronic gambling machines, and somebody who's high on methamphetamine or cocaine, it's the same areas of the brain are lighting up.
Wow.
So you're getting that dopamine rush because it's a risk reward with gambling, and when we get rewards, our brain gives us a little hit of dopamine to remind us that this is a good thing.
Yeah.
So when we're gambling, you're getting these big hits, right? When you get that big win or whatnot. And it seems to be those wins get farther and fewer in between, and
you're
more
working
desperation.
harder. Yeah, so that's when you have to check out the resources for problem gambling.
Right.
Right. So the first one we have up there is the Oregon Problem Gambling Resource. And so that's a wonderful website that connects people to treatment. If you actually go on the website, a little window will pop up where you can chat with a counselor live on the spot.
Okay.
So talk about maybe some of the concerns. It's got the helpline number. It's got the different addresses of the different people that actually provide the services, as well as just general information about how to determine whether you or somebody you know has a gambling problem.
And I'm betting if you're thinking that you have a problem or somebody else does, they probably do.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things about those rules, right, is that people that do gamble responsibly don't have to look at those rules to know if they're gambling responsibly or not.
Right.
But one of the things that those are helpful for is if you find yourself breaking those rules, it's time to start looking at whether there's something else going on.
Yeah.
And it's something you can ask yourself, are you gambling longer than you intend to? Are you gambling with more money than you intend to? Do you get irritated and agitated when maybe you're not gambling but feel like you'd like to?
Right.
You're thinking about it a lot. You know, there's different things people can look at and go to the website, and there's a lot of those questions you can ask
Is it
yourself.
affecting other parts of your life too? I imagine that would be a big one.
Well, absolutely. Is it affecting any major area of
affecting
your
your
life?
marriage, your job, your
Relationship,
ability to pay
yes.
your bill, any of that. So we also, I understand you provide the services in Spanish as well.
Right.
Okay, and I want to show this video that you were involved in making
Oh,
here
okay.
at MetroEast.
Sounds
If we
great.
could show that, it was your holiday greeting to the community from Volunteers of America. But let's watch that. And you can tell us then what you told us.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
De parte de nosotros, del programa de Adelante
Feliz Navidad.
y próspero año nuevo.
Adelante es un programa de servicios comunitarios para personas con problemas de alcohol, drogas y problemas del juego.
¿Conoce a alguien que quisiera cambiar su forma de vivir?
Nosotros en Adelante trabajamos con personas que están buscando transformar su vida.
Ayudamos a cambiar su comportamiento para vivir una vida más saludable. Sin
Sin
drogas, alcohol y juego.
Si usted conoce a alguien o es usted mismo que quiere ayuda, llámenos ahora.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Nice job.
Great
Nice
job.
Yeah.
Julio does an amazing
Yeah,
job.
that was you and Jesus.
Right.
Yeah, that was good. So what were you telling us in Spanish there?
So we were talking about the services that are provided by Adelante. And Adelante is another program within Volunteers of America that provides culturally specific services for Latino people,
Okay.
the Latino community. And mainly that means that most of our services are provided in Spanish. So we do a lot of our work in Spanish. We have a great team at Volunteers of America led by Miguel Tellez.
Love Miguel.
Miguel is awesome. So he's kind of got me, Jesus, and a couple of other people that have just joined the team working on different aspects of community health. Mostly working around addiction. So Jesus focuses on the youth piece.
Okay.
He's out at Milwaukee High School, and he does prevention
My
work
alma mater.
as well as yeah, there you go. Prevention work as well as treatment down there. I mainly focus on the problem gambling services for
Okay.
Latinos. And when I was in school, I noticed that there was a great need in the Spanish-speaking community for services because there's not a whole lot of, first of all, gambling counselors, and then
Right.
second of all, gambling counselors that speak Spanish.
So what resources are available to the Latino community for gambling?
So for Lewis and Clark has problem gambling services program, and that's run by the students.
Oh,
And so if they have students that speak Spanish for the time that they're being educated there, then they can provide those services in Spanish. Otherwise,
That's hit or miss then, kind of. I mean,
right. So it's
yeah.
not a consistent thing.
Okay.
Otherwise, most people would either get a translator or people would call the helpline. The people that run the helpline are also bilingual and
Okay.
bicultural. But I think for the most part, Atalanta does a lot of the work with the Latino
So
community.
that's it, yeah, and the Spanish-speaking community is growing by leaps and bounds in
Right.
our area. So that's
Absolutely.
I can see there'd be a huge need for that. Okay, one other thing I wanted to ask about. They were mentioning when I was looking at the slides that you brought about you talked about video poker machines or video machines. How has that impacted the gambling problem in Oregon? Because I remember as a kid there was no such thing.
Yeah,
as
it's had a
that.
huge impact because when the lottery passed the ability to have those machines as part of lottery games, this was in 1984, what we've seen is that most of gambling addiction is from the video lottery terminals.
About 90% of people coming in for services, and this is through surveys that are done, it's the electronic gambling machines or the video lottery terminals, as we call them.
Well, they're everywhere.
That they have the
They're
addiction to.
everywhere, yeah.
I mean, after the state of Nevada, Oregon's in top 3 or 4 states for locations in which to gamble.
Really?
So there's over 20,000 electronic gambling machines in the state. Now that's including the lottery and the 9 tribal casinos as well that are available. And we do know that they are the most addictive form of gambling there is. Now also, all the casinos, they're taking out card tables, dice tables, and putting in these electronic gambling machines because that's where the money is. And they hire psychologists help design these machines. They're geared to make people want to stay longer and play longer.
You know, I hadn't really thought about that, but I'm sure that makes perfect sense. That that's what they would do.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the holiday time of year. What about the holiday like lottery games and stuff like that? That I imagine is kind of a big deal this time of year.
It's a big time of year for the lottery, especially. This is when they do a lot of advertising with the scratchers and the stocking stuffers. And I just want people to be cautious because all the scratchers are very. Children see those and get excited. They
have little reindeers on.
Yeah,
they have cute little things that
They're
are
really
very
cute
appealing.
looking,
And
absolutely.
people think they're
one of those to scratch off.
and they're maybe kind of harmless and let's give the kids a couple scratchers in their stocking, but they're
Probably
not
not
for
a good
children.
idea.
No, they're
No.
for adults, 18 and older for scratchers.
Yeah, legally they're not for children,
Right,
but
right.
also it's probably not a really good idea to get them started on that path.
Right.
Yeah, that's something I bet a lot of people don't even think about. But
Well, I don't bet, Monica, but they don't.
yeah, I bet they don't. What can you tell me about people that have come into the program? You obviously are a success story in going through recovery. What about other people? Is the rate of recovery is it low? Is it high? Is there a lot of hope for people going into the programs?
Absolutely, there's a lot of hope for people. Recovery is real, and it happens. And we know that Oregon is actually one of the leaders in the country when it comes to the treatment of gambling addiction. And I believe, again, that the numbers that if I recall that are right, the people that go into treatment and have successful completion, I believe 70–80% a year afterwards say they haven't gambled and that life is better.
Well, and I'm sure it is. I have no doubt that it would be better. So before I let you go tonight, tell me what are the main things to remember if you think you may have a gambling problem?
I'd like to say that you remember help is available. Call 1-800-MY-LIMIT. That's the Oregon hotline. Go to the OPGR website. You can contact us at VOA. But there is help available. It's absolutely free. Treatment is free in the state of Oregon.
Which is an important thing to know, especially if you've lost all your money gambling.
Yes.
I mean, really, because I imagine that's the bottom for a lot of people. It's like,
Well, money is the drug to the gambler.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So having that as a free service has got to be a huge
It's
thing.
invaluable for the
And it
community.
works.
Absolutely.
And it really does work. And it's absolutely 100% confidential.
I think another thing that would be really important too is, before somebody is able to make the call, right? Because usually the calls are, before the call there's a crisis, right? But even before there's a crisis, there's like thoughts around, well, maybe there's something wrong, I'm not able to pay my rent, like that kind of stuff. So
Right.
there's a lot of information on the internet. So like OPGR, once again, is a great resource. GamTalk is another one that's really
Okay.
great. It's gamtalk.org. And so this is a worldwide online support community around gambling where they have chat rooms, they have forums, and people write their stories about when they were gambling and what recovery looks like for them.
I
So for
bet.
someone who's not ready to have an interaction with somebody else around their problem gambling,
Right.
this is a place that could get them more ready to make that first
read it,
call.
and they'll be
Yeah.
going, "Oh, I see myself there."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Gamblers Anonymous as well is a great recovery 12-step program if that's something that you choose and would like to check out. There's many
Okay.
meetings in the metropolitan area.
Right, and if you're a part of the Latino community, Atalanta is an option then?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for being
Thank
on
you.
today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. And I hope that you have a wonderful, happy holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you
too,
so much.
Monica. Thanks.
Thanks for watching Community Hotline. I hope you've learned something tonight. This is an important subject. If you believe you have a gambling problem, or if a family member does, or somebody that you care about, there is hope there. So do check it out. I'm Monica Weitzel. We'll see you next week on Community Hotline.